You know, the same thing as Tally. I actually had a weekend off this weekend. Did a lot of barbecuing. Had a lot of fun. Actually, took the kids out to play tennis today. So we actually spent a few hours on the tennis court. It was awesome. It was amazing. So, yeah. Awesome. I'm trying to turn them into little Andre Agassi's.
Awesome. Well, I definitely don't want to keep anybody waiting any longer. We've been promising it for quite some time. The independent candidate for the Senate here from the state of Arkansas, Mr. Dan Whitfield. How are you doing here tonight?
Hey, I'm well. Thank you so much, Mike, for having me over tonight. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, I'm so excited to have you. Like I said, this has been weeks in the making. You can ask Sean. I've been bothering him for weeks and weeks about looking you up and, getting information about you because, I'm so happy that we do have an option. It was looking kind of bleak there for a while as far as Mr. Cotton goes. It looks like, there's some things that still need to be worked out, but it was definitely looking bleak there for a little bit.
Yeah, it really was. But hey, everything's going to be better because I'm going to be on the ballot.
Hey, there we go. Speak it into existence. Yeah. I love it. Well, Mr. Whitfield, I guess we'll go ahead and start out because I want you to start out telling us your experience so far in attempting this run against not only Tom Cotton, but against really the Arkansas political establishment you've run up against.
Oh, it has been quite the emotional roller coaster, that's for sure. There's a lot of corruption going on in Arkansas that a lot of people just are not even aware of. So this goes way back. Let's go back a year from now, okay? So last summer, the Arkansas state legislators, the GOP, actually were able to amend the Constitution so that third-party candidates needed 26,000 signatures instead of 10,000 signatures to get ballot access.
Wow.
When they did this, they already had the dirt on the Democrat and knew they were going to be able to blackmail the Democrat out. So they knew they had the Democrat out. They were trying to stop third parties, and that's what we're dealing with right now. So we were able to, fortunately, the Libertarian Party of Arkansas did sue the Secretary of State, John Thurston, and had the signature reduction from 26,000 all the way back down to 10, which was good. Awesome. At that point, the Libertarian Party was able to pay canvassing company $55,000, and then they got ballot access. Now, as a Libertarian, for the Libertarian Party, the big difference between them and an independent was that they got to choose their 90-day window to collect signatures. So they chose last summer, so they got their signatures last summer during the busiest months of the year. Now, as an independent, I have a fixed collection period, and my fixed collection period was from February 1st until May 1st. COVID-19, unfortunately, happened during that time. From orders of the state, the Governor Asa Hutchinson actually issued a state of emergency banning large gatherings and implementing social distancing policies on March 13th, which was about 40% of the time into our collection period. So realistically, we lost about 60% of the time. We were only able to get 6,514 signatures in that 40% of the time. So we were on track to get all of our signatures, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we were unable to do so. And that's kind of how our story starts. I'll try not to get too technical into it, but I'll try to also keep it fairly brief for you and just go right through this part here. So we did not get our signatures. First thing I did was I drafted a letter, and I contacted every other independent candidate in Arkansas, and the only two people I couldn't get a hold of, one was Christine, so-and-so, all of her information on the Secretary of State's website is wrong. You can't get a hold of her. And then the other gentleman, I got his voicemail, and he never called me back. But the other 5 independents, I spoke with all of them, and they all signed my letter, and we sent it to the governor asking for either an extension, a signature reduction, or to allow digital signatures because of COVID-19 affecting our signature collection.
Right.
Now, the governor, I later found the governor actually got our letter, and in an interview much later, he said he got the letter, but he just handed it off to his legal team and then never, looked at it. So that didn't help. So we waited a little while, and then we sent that same letter to the Secretary of State, John Thurston, asking for his help.
Okay.
They didn't respond either. After a few weeks, I reached back out, and then his staff told me that you do not have the authority to do anything like that. So the head of our elections doesn't have the authority to do it, he said. So we took the next step, and we sued them. We started the legal process to make sure we could get ballot access. We sued the Secretary of State, John Thurston, for ballot access, and his defense counsel is the Attorney General, Leslie Rutledge.
Right.
All right, let's stop there. First fun fact. Asa Hutchinson, the governor, the Secretary of State, John Thurston, and the Attorney General, Leslie Rutledge, have all taken money from Tom Cotton, from personal contributions, his campaign contributions, and he even started Rangers Lead the Way PAC, his own private PAC, and gave them money through there as well. So that's where the corruption kind of begins, and what we've been having to deal with this entire time. So we sued John Thurston, and our hearing was on May 27th, and the Honorable Judge Baker from the district courts was our judge and oversaw the case.
Mm-hmm.
Our case, I think our hearing lasted about 9 hours. The Attorney General cross-examined me for 2 hours, and in those 2 hours, he made himself look really bad. He made my case look really good, and they got to the point where they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to move on to the next witness. The problem was everything that I was saying was true, and they were trying to catch me in a lie, but we weren't lying.
Right.
And actually, if you go to replacetomcotton.com, click on the ballot access tab, you can see the entire court hearing transcript on there as well. Read through it. It's really entertaining stuff. I had some supporters who were there in the courtroom. I was there. I was on a video conference remotely.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, I got the judge and everyone in the courtroom to laugh twice. So that was pretty cool. He asked me where in the Constitution it says that the Secretary of State has to give me relief for ballot access. So I returned the question. Where in the Constitution does it say that I need signatures to represent my constituency?
Very true.
Answer. It's unconstitutional.
Very true.
So we had our hearing, and then it took 4 weeks after our hearing for Judge Baker to give us a 61-page ruling in which she ruled that we do not have standing for preliminary injunctive relief, but we do have standing for declaratory relief. Now, the reason that she did this, at first, of course, it's a very emotional thing. We're trying to figure out what's going on. Why would it take her 4 weeks to tell us no, and why would she spend 4 weeks writing a 61-page document to tell us no when she could have just told us no at any point? Because the Attorney General had actually filed, I think it was 5 motions for her to drop the case, and she wouldn't drop it. She just kept going.
Right.
So we start looking at everything, and basically what it came down to was if she had ruled in our favor and gave us the preliminary injunctive motion, the relief, then the Attorney General would have appealed it and locked it up into 8th Circuit courts until after the election. She stated many cases on her ruling where candidates had won their case against John Thurston, and they locked it up in a legal process and were not able to get on the ballot. So it was very, very thoughtful what she had done. She's a very, very intelligent woman. I think she graduated like summa cum laude from the University of Arkansas. I mean, very smart woman.
Right.
Now, what that means for us is we were actually able to appeal the ruling stating we do have declaratory standing, and now we are in the 8th Circuit Courts of Appeals and trying to get through the process. So we have a good case. We're going to win the case. It's just, when is that going to happen? Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Now, I want to follow up real quick.
The whole COVID-19.
Real quick, Sean, I apologize. Before I go into that, you mentioned your ballot access on your replacetomcotton.com. And myself and Sean were looking at that. And the first thing that you see is obviously the denial. And it says the order to deny or expedite did not come from a judge. It did not come from a clerk. It came from an unnamed associate of an unnamed person a week after U.S. Attorney General William Barr had a closed-door meeting with Arkansas Attorney General Leslie Rutledge and my opponent, Tom Cotton. Can you talk us through that for a second?
Absolutely. So that's kind of where we were at with our case is we had filed an expedite for our appeal. That way we could get the hearing done before ballots get printed at the end of August.
Right.
Now, it's funny because I know they're going to try to rush the ballot printing because we have record numbers of absentee ballots because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
COVID-19 is affecting everything but my ability to collect signatures and go person to person, you know. So what had happened was we filed our expedite, and already it's really odd because we filed our case nearly a month ago, and we still do not have our panel of judges assigned, which it should have been assigned within usually a week. Mm-hmm. So that's very odd in the first place. Mm-hmm. Now, we filed our motion for expedite, and our expedite was denied, and I called the clerk's office because it doesn't say why it was denied. You can see the document there.
Right.
And I asked her, I'm like, who gave these orders? Who ordered y'all to deny our expedite? And she said, well, all I can say is that it was an unnamed person from an unnamed, or an unnamed associate from an unnamed person. And this just happened to happen a week after the United States Attorney General, William Barr, came here to Arkansas and met with our Attorney General, who is my defense counsel, and my opponent, Tom Cotton. It's just really odd. There have to be some kind of ethical violations going on, but that's where we're at right now. So what we are doing next is we are filing a renewed expedite, because when they filed their opposition to our expedite, they keep making mistakes over at the Attorney General's office. Mm-hmm. They worded something wrong, used wrong numbers, and it was inaccurate. It was incorrect.
Right.
So we are going to renew our expedite, and we are expecting our expedite to pass this time. And if they fail it again, then we are going to do what it takes to find out who put that order through to fail it. And we need to find out if they've been taking money from Tom Cotton like everybody else who's been going against us. But
awesome.
That's where we're at. I'm very confident we're going to win our case. It's just hopefully it's sooner rather than later. If we do not get our expedite through, then our hearing... Well, before that even, like right now, even if we don't get it expedited, our oral arguments will be September 21st to September 25th, which is going to be about a month after they print the ballots. So the absentee ballots will not have my name. Now, what we can do, of course, is we can request that they reprint the ballots, because it only takes them a few days to do it, and they will reprint the ballots. But where the big issue comes is that the person in charge of reprinting the ballots and redistributing them is the Secretary of State, John Thurston.
Thank goodness.
So we are expecting intentional errors. They're trying everything they can. So what we're also trying to do with our new expedite is we're trying to prevent them from printing the ballots until after our hearing.
Right.
With an injunction.
I mean, this is Arkansas. This is a very corrupt state. It is a red state, and the governor is obviously a Republican. The attorney generals are Republican. Everybody that is involved in this, they're all patting each other on the back and helping each other out. And you're coming along to run against Tom Cotton, and they're gonna pull every dirty trick that they can. Minus, what is it? Absolutely blatantly breaking the law. They're going to do everything they can without, just every dirty trick that they can do. Because, that's how I see it. Yeah, that's how I see it. Yeah, they're going to just, it's like watching those old Scooby-Doo cartoons back in the day when they had the Laugh Olympics and you had the bad guys and the good guys, and the bad guys do everything they can without getting caught, and sometimes they win. That's kind of how I see this right now, is that's what the Republicans are doing, because they suck ass.
They're terrified. They know I'm going to do Tom Cotton.
I agree.
They are terrified right now.
I agree, especially...
Tom Cotton.
There's a lot of unrest with Tom Cotton at this time, so I do believe that you're a great voice for a lot of us displaced voters here in Arkansas who don't want Tom Cotton and desperately need an option that can represent our views.
Absolutely.
We're thankful that you're doing this.
Tally and I definitely don't have a voice in Arkansas. We'll say that. That's the truth.
I'm a woman, and I'm not white enough, so it's kind of hard.
It's sad, but
and I'm a progressive atheist, so they hate me.
Yeah, it's sad, but unfortunately true. And Cotton's definitely not doing anything to help his notions. But Sean, we'll get to that question here in a minute. I want to let Sean go ahead and get something in here.
Right. Okay, so if elected, could you please tell us what your plans are to make veterans benefits better here in the state of Arkansas? Because Michael and I are both veterans. We're very interested in that.
So one of the first things we need to do, we have to do as a nation, is we need to audit the military budget. And we need to have an independent source go through and do it so we can see where the waste is going and trim that fat, and then take that fat and put that back into our society, put that into veterans benefits, put that into education, into healthcare, into infrastructure, into things that we really need here at home, rather than sending it into, basically, one of the biggest problems with our military isn't the fact that they're there to defend us. It's the fact that we have defense contractors, these companies owned by ex-legislators and ex-generals,
right,
that are using their companies to funnel tax dollars from our accounts into their pockets. We have to end American imperialism, and we have to stop invading poor nations to steal their natural resources. Once we trim that fat, that's how we're going to start taking care of our veterans. Because if we cannot afford to take care of our veterans, then we can't afford to even send them in the first place.
I agree. Awesome. Awesome, man. I really
let me applaud you right there.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is a young man that has listened to Eisenhower. He knows about the military-industrial complex. That's amazing. I love that. Absolutely. Okay.
As a veteran, literally goosebumps,
Dan.
Literally goosebumps, Dan. I appreciate that. Tolly, I think I sent you the questions, Tolly. Were you able to get them, or feel free to ask whatever you would like?
Yeah. Yeah, so I want to know, are you pro-life or are you pro-choice? And why? What makes us, that stance that you have on this particular policy?
So my stances on being either pro-life or pro-choice or pro-gun or anti-gun are the two policies that really hurt me the most because it divides my voter base. I do believe I understand the pro-life movement, and I think that we have to treat lives, well. We have to make sure we're taking care of children. We're taking care of the people. We are taking care of the most vulnerable of those amongst us. But I am pro-choice. Mm-hmm. We also have to understand that a majority of the abortions that are happening aren't from unwanted pregnancies. A lot of them are from medical issues. My wife, our last pregnancy, we lost one of our twins, and then we were diagnosed, the second twin was diagnosed with trisomy 18 at about 22 weeks. And at that point, that's when the doctor told us we needed to abort for medical reasons. And we got a second opinion, we got a third opinion, and all of the doctors that we spoke to said, it's not healthy for you to carry this child. There are risks involved. You need to terminate it. We decided that we did not want to terminate the child, that we wanted to give it every chance we could, up until the point where just before she was to be born, the doctors told us that she wasn't strong enough to make it through a vaginal birth, so my wife chose to go through a C-section. And we gave her every opportunity we possibly could. And she lived with us for about 5 hours until she died in my arms. And that kind of pain is not pain that I would even wish upon Tom Cotton, that I wouldn't wish upon any person. But the one thing that's really important with this story is that we had a choice. We chose not to abort, but that was our choice to make. And we should never take that choice away from someone and force them to go through that kind of thing. It's just not all right. What we need to do is we need to focus on the problem and not the symptom. Abortion is a symptom. It is a symptom that has caused the debate for 50 plus years. What we need to do is focus on unwanted pregnancies. We need to have real sex education in our schools. Actual sex education. Not where you just have to, here in Arkansas, you get a permission slip, you take it home, and your parents sign it, and then you can do your sex ed, or they don't sign it, and you don't. If they do sign it, your sex ed is basically an abstinence is best talk. They don't teach you about your body. They don't teach you about sex. They don't teach you about anything that's important that really involves sex. And the problem is abstinence may work best, but kids aren't not going to have sex. If they want to have sex, they're going to do it anyways.
Right.
And that's why,
Absolutely.
on top of proper sex education, we have to provide contraception to every single American under 21 years old. Not even just American, but any person living here under 21 years old, because that's when a lot of people have the accidental pregnancies that they don't really, they're not ready for. And then on top of that, a little bit deeper, is we need to make sure for women that we have the proper birth control pills accessible. Because, yes, I understand that you have generic birth control and you have the good stuff. And the good stuff is going to clean up your pores and make your face and your skin look real good. And the cheap generic stuff is going to make you break out and not be happy with yourself. So a lot of women don't like taking that. We have to give them the good stuff that makes them want to take it if they don't want to have a baby. But that's where I
right.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's amazing. I want to say that I'm very sorry that you went through that, and that you faced that bravely, and I respect that. I respect that choice that you made. But you made a very important point where you said it was your choice to do that, and that's what's important. Everyone needs to have the choice to do what they make, because, like you said, usually it is a medical situation where people have to make this decision. Just recently, my wife and I, she had a medical issue that was going on, and she had to go and take a pregnancy test to try to figure out what's going on. And turns out she's not. But if she had been, we probably would have opted for, not going through with that, because at this point in our lives, we're too old. We can't afford such a thing. We would take away from our other children. You have to have choices to look at those things, Everyone's situation is different. We didn't have to do that, so I'm grateful for that. But a lot of people do make that decision, for that reason, and they shouldn't be judged for that. Absolutely. No one should be judged for the decisions that they make when it comes to that issue.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Whitfield, I'm going to hit you with another toughie here, especially with what's been going on recently here in the state of Arkansas. What are your thoughts on the Black Lives Matter movement, and how would you help heal the racial divide here in the state of Arkansas?
The Black Lives Matter movement is extremely important. It is, and it's honestly just the tip of the iceberg of what we really need to start addressing, because it really goes back to a systemic problem that has been sown into our society all the way since,
Are you okay?
Now we can get to the 1619 project.
What's wrong, baby?
Where
I'll get you some milk.
One of the little ones got Sean's attention.
But then we start, we get into the 1619 project and how we really need to be teaching the real, accurate truth.
Right.
Not just whitewashed history that makes us sound good and proud and happy and all this good stuff. Absolutely. Because when you start whitewashing the past, that's when people are going to be prone to make the same mistakes that we made back then again. We have to teach what really happened.
I agree.
I had a rough time with my daughter last year. Not a rough time. It was a really eye-opening time during Columbus Day, when she came home and started telling me how great Columbus was and how he discovered America and fed the Indians and all this stuff. And I made a choice. I sat down and I told her who Christopher Columbus was. I told her about the genocide that they brought, about how they stole this nation from Native Americans, and how he had never actually even been in the United States of America.
Right.
So I made that choice. But the thing is I shouldn't have to make that choice to tell my daughter the truth, whether or not Santa's real or whether or not the Easter Bunny's real. History is not Santa. It's not the Easter Bunny. We can't sugarcoat it. We have to teach these kids the truth. Again, that way they don't make the same mistakes. With the BLM movement,
I really love
your
stance on this. I really love this because I grew up in Hawaii. I'm from American Samoa. I'm Hawaiian, and when I moved to the mainland United States, and I was the Hawaiian girl in class. My teachers wanted me to read the little blurb that they would give Hawaii in the history book. And I would correct them, and I was always a well-behaved encyclopedia. So when I would correct these history books in the mainland, they would get really mad. They expected me to be very indoctrinated and just take it at face value, but this is my history. So I really respect your stance on that side of education, where you support the 1619 Project and you think that we should be teaching the harsh, real truths of what we've done as a nation. Because I think, as someone whose people have suffered, that's the only way we're really going to heal and move forward from the divide that we do experience.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Sean?
But, and when it comes to, like, the movement and what we really need to do, I think some of the key things to fixing some of the systemic racism that we have seen throughout our entire lives and for a long time is we need to make sure that we're focusing on fixing our educational and our healthcare systems, because a lot of the problems come from underfunded schools in predominantly minority neighborhoods. And that's why my education stance, I think it's very, very important. We have a really unique problem here in Arkansas. Some parts of Arkansas have the best paid teachers in the country and the best quality schools, while other parts of Arkansas are the polar opposite and have the lowest paid salaries with the worst ranked schools. And we have to figure out how to even that out.
Well, and Dan, I'm a Springdale graduate, and I'm pretty sure the ones you were talking about, the highest paid, were up in that corridor of the state of Arkansas, because there's a lot of money up there.
Yeah.
But, it's very interesting that you mentioned that. Obviously, I got a pretty good education, but, I remember being a Bush guy back in 2004 whenever No Child Left Behind was enacted. And I remember, looking at that, and I literally thought it meant, we're going to even the playing field. There's going to be no child left behind. And unfortunately, it's kind of fallen short of its promise, in my opinion.
I think what we're going to need to do is we need to figure out how to redistribute the funding to our schools. And right now, our schools are funded by community taxes, by property taxes, and things like that. Mm-hmm. What we need to do is we need to go as an entire state, pool all of this funding together, and then distribute it evenly, depending on how many staff and how many students are at each school. And then it doesn't matter where you live, you're still able to get a quality education and have a chance to succeed in our society.
Absolutely.
But that's really important. And once we start fixing a lot of those problems, I mean, that's going to change our world. The last thing we need to do is cut funding to any schools, period. Mm-hmm. Don't threaten to cut school funding. That's
right. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to lead into. Some of the things that you were saying. I'm the progressive of the group, so I'm more left than anybody else. One of the things I really wanted to know is, what are your thoughts of taxing the 1%? Getting the money that is owed the American people from those people who use the loopholes that they can to not pay any taxes at all. The Walmarts, the corporations that are out there that don't pay taxes, that take actual subsidies from our country for paying low wages so that people can have welfare and all that crap. What are your thoughts about that as well?
Man, such great questions. I love it. I love to answer these questions. I can do this all day long. So, you might not like my answer 100%, because honestly, the richest 1%, I think they should be paying the same amount of taxes as you and me, 20 to 30%. Right now, they're not paying taxes because they're using these legal loopholes that they were able to get passed in legislation through legislators that they bribed. They get legislators into office, and then they ask for legislation like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that saves them trillions of dollars that they don't have to pay in taxes, that instead of coming back into our society goes to offshore banks and overseas tax havens where they just build interest in a foreign bank, and it doesn't help our society. When it comes to my tax plan and what I think the way we should be taxed is number one, we shouldn't have payroll taxes, period. We should not be taxing people to want to work, and we should not be taxing employers for wanting to hire. What we need to tax is we need to tax profits. If we start taxing profits, then people who are, it's basically its own progressive scale. So the way I foresee the way we tax is we will classify business in a few different ways. We will have small businesses, we will have medium-sized businesses, large businesses, and giant businesses. And these are all just general terms to, classify stuff.
Yes.
So a small business would profit between $0 and $1 million per year. That would be classified as a small business, and they would pay a flat 10% tax per year, which would really reduce the tax burden that these mom-and-pop stores are facing when mom-and-pop stores are still paying like 37% in taxes before their overhead because they aren't able to use these legal tax loopholes that giant corporations are using.
Right.
So that would be 0 to 1 million. A medium size would be from 1 million to $100 million profit per year. This would be a medium-sized business, and they would be a flat tax at 15%. Now, when I say a flat tax, I mean no loopholes, no tax evasion strategy at all. It would be 15% tax of your profit. Now, a large business would be between $100 million and $1 billion. They would have a flat tax of 20%, and a giant business, like a corporation, would be more than $1 billion per year, a flat tax of 25%, which is technically 12% less than the 37% they're paying now. But if we did this, we would have more tax revenue because the biggest corporations that aren't paying taxes at all would make up for the lower tax income, the lower tax revenue from the smaller businesses. Now, at the same time, this would really help us with corruption because then we can classify that only small and medium-sized businesses qualify for government subsidies. That way, we don't have corporations that are making billions of dollars a year taking hundreds of millions of dollars of our taxes in subsidies like what we have seen with Amazon, where they pay $0 and took $400 million.
That's
things like
really
that. I think would really help and increase our revenue.
Well, and I mean, you hit something.
That's amazing. I think.
And what you had hit on with the corporations, like what we pay their welfare, that's like Walmart. They pay around 1.5% in taxes, and which was, I think a few years ago they paid roughly like $14 billion in taxes. But that same year, they paid such low slave wages that their employees qualified for $6.5 billion worth of welfare. And we have to enforce taxation and illegal tax loopholes, and by doing that, we can lower taxes on the working class and the people that is burdening the most.
Well, and Dan, the way you made that,
you're absolutely right.
The way you rolled that out, you even said, that's still I think you said about a $12 million or 12%, I'm not sure which one it was, a 12% cut on what they're already required to pay. You're still giving them a tax cut. So, I don't understand why there would be any fight against this, minus the fact that obviously they want their loopholes.
They would go from 0% to 25 real fast and not be happy.
Right.
But that's what our society needs.
Yeah, they don't want to pay any taxes. That's the problem. And they should pay taxes. Ronald Reagan helped enact all this BS because he took the tax rate from, what was it, like 60% all the way down to like 18%? That's what built the infrastructure of this country, was that the wealthy had to pay their fair share and build this country and make sure that everyone was taken care of. No one should have that much more than everyone else. It's just not fair. And people talk about, well, they earned it and all this and that. No, a lot of these people did not earn what they had. You look at Donald Trump and different people like that, they were given it.
A small loan of $1 million.
Yes. And then they use tax evasion and fraud to build it. Yes.
Yes. And that's exactly what's happened in this country. And now we're moving towards where the founding fathers, I guess you could say, escaped that type of system over in England, right? Because landowners were oppressing everyone else, so people came over here to have a fresh start. Well, now we're starting to have the same thing happen here. Well, we need to go ahead and nip that in the bud as quickly as we can. If we don't, we're going to be in the same boat as England was. And then where are we going to go? There is no place to go.
Tolly?
Absolutely.
I believe we're on to you.
So, how do you feel about establishing a universal health care? And sub-question from that, when you're looking at things like Medicare, Medicaid, and Veterans Health, how do your views on universal health care play into those different aspects when we're talking about, universal health care?
So I do support Medicare for all 100%. I will, I will protect the Affordable Care Act and help to protect and expand it until we can get Medicare for all passed. But still, the Affordable Care Act was, honestly, a giant handout to pharmaceutical companies in the health industry. But what it did do is it allowed people with pre-existing conditions to get the help that they needed to save their lives. So it was a double-edged sword, and it was way better than what we had before. What we need to look at is for more than 100 years, we have had private health care. More than 100 years, we've tried different kinds of private health care systems. But one thing we know for sure right now is the number one cause of bankruptcy in America is medical debt. Medical bills. And 70% of those people that file bankruptcy for medical debt have medical insurance. They're going to work. They're paying their premiums. They're doing everything right. They get sick and then they lose everything, and that is not okay. No. America is the only nation in the entire world where someone can get sick and lose everything. We have to fix that.
Yeah.
I hear a lot
that's something that I have... I've said that over and over again on many of our shows, is that every single one of us that have been on this show are one medical bill away from bankruptcy. And you just hit that point. You hit that point 100%.
And Medicare for All is really the cure-all. It's going to help. Number one, Medicare for All, it is not free. We are going to pay for it. Of course, nothing is free.
Yes. Right.
Number two, it is not Medicare. I get that all the time. Well, Medicare is so terrible, and we have all these supplements, and you just want to do this for everybody. It is not Medicare. They shouldn't have named it Medicare for All. It should be called Healthcare for All or something like that. Right. Point being, for the average household in Arkansas, our average income is $40,000 a year.
Right.
Now, what that means is and I know I see in your face, it's really crazy. I wish it was higher. And we can get to that later because I have a vision for how we can do that.
Okay.
Now, the average Arkansan household income is $40,000 a year. With Medicare for All, that means the average Arkansan house will pay $440 per year to cover their entire household. $440 a year. Now, there will be costs for prescription drugs. The prescription drug cost will be $200 cap per year. So that means if you fill your first prescription in January and it's more than $200, you pay your $200 copay on it, and your prescriptions for the rest of the year are at no cost to you.
Oh my goodness.
This is just the way it is. Now, the way that we can get that amount, because I know average is just a term.
Right.
If you want to look at how expensive it would cost, say, for your family, let's say for a middle-class family or an upper-middle-class family. All right. Say your household income is $100,000 per year.
Right.
Now, you'll subtract $29,000 and then multiply it by 0.04, which is 4%. That means if your household income is $100,000 a year, your yearly medical payment to cover your entire house, no more premiums, deductibles, copays, any of that, $2,840 a year.
My goodness.
Now,
that's amazing.
If you break that down and divide that by 12, that's $237 a month.
That's nothing.
Right. You know, you hit something very important right there, too. And I've been trying to teach these guys this for years on American Idiots podcast, is that most people think they're middle class here in Arkansas, and they're not. They're in poverty, and they don't get that. The middle class in this country starts at $80,000 a year. That's middle class. That's lower.
Yeah.
That's lower. Okay?
Ooh, wow.
So most of these people making $40,000, $50,000 a year, they don't even realize that they're living in poverty. They have no clue at all. And you just hit that. I'm so thankful that you did that. That's amazing. Thank you.
And we can even get more into that. I'm full of fun facts and statistics.
I love it. I love it.
back to Medicare for all. So if you make $100,000 a year household income, that's $237 a month. My wife and I, we work at Whitfield. We have decent jobs. We work for a Fortune 300 company. Our medical insurance, we pay $840 a month and have a $1,500 deductible. I do. Let's see here. I pay $600 a month. 12, $600 a month. Wow. So we pay about, that's $11,500 to our medical insurance provider before they help us out. A year, that's a huge percentage of our income. That's, 10, 15, 20% of some people's income is just going to their medical. That's before you take into their mortgage and their rent, which is 15, 20, 30%. And then you have utilities and car and gas and food and clothes. It's not sustainable. We have to make sure that when we are holding people's lives in our hands, we are not putting profits over these lives, which we see really heavily, especially with our diabetic community, with our insulin costs. Insulin is ridiculously expensive, and it costs almost nothing to make, but I think 3 companies own the patent and just monopolize the entire industry. We have to little things like this.
Sean, remind me to never complain about the VA again. Good Lord. I'm so happy for the VA right now.
I've been telling you about this for years. No, seriously, I've been telling you about this for years, and you haven't been listening to me, and I'm glad someone else came on this show and actually pointed that out to you. I am not insane. I fucking know this shit, okay? I work, in Little Rock. I work in North Little Rock. I see the single mothers that have 2 and 3 kids that are working 2 and 3 jobs every single day, and they have nothing. They have to struggle for every single dime that they have. Medicaid for all would help them so much.
Absolutely.
And that's what people don't think. They're like, well, I don't want to pay for somebody else's health care. Why not? I mean, we need to be like Sweden and Denmark and Norway and all these other countries. We need to start looking at everybody and actually taking care of each other. We have to do this, or else we're not going to survive as a species.
My goodness.
Well, at the same time, that's just our side. That's the citizen side of it. What a lot of people don't realize is, I'm paying, I think it's $840 or $860. I don't remember. My wife is the accountant and pays everything. But whatever we're paying, our company is matching 100%. So realistically, the insurance company is making like $1,600 plus a month, and my employer's paying out a whole bunch. Why do employers cheap out on benefits for employees? Because it's expensive. Why are employers like Walmart making you work like, say, 19 hours so that you're not part-time, so you don't qualify for benefits, and making you sign a variable hour sheets saying that you're a variable hour employee, you don't qualify for benefits, because they can't afford to pay those crazy amounts. Now, when they will match and they will have to pay that 4% as well. But when you tell an employer that they're going to be paying their employee $440 a year for their medical benefits, and that's an edge they have on hiring, they're going to be more than happy to do it. It's going to save big corporations hundreds of millions of dollars. Right. It's going to save mom and pop stores millions of dollars, and they're going to want to hire with good benefits. So, I mean, it goes all the way around, a full circle effect to help our society out.
Well, one thing I wanted to definitely make sure to hit on, because I had quite a few people ask me this question, is what are your thoughts on how to improve the rights on the LGBTQ plus community here, at least in the state of Arkansas?
So it is really important that we protect the LGBTQ plus rights. We have to make sure the protections are in place as far as employment, as far as educational, all these different things that affect people in their everyday lives. The problem with hatred is it's not inherent, it's learned. The thing about racism, it's not inherent, it's learned. We have so many racist people in our society that basically spread this like a disease amongst their children, and then their children spread the disease, and it spreads like a disease. What are we going to do? Man, I don't have the perfect answer for that question. All I know is we have to make sure that we are not discriminating against anyone for how they identify or how they decide to have their sexual orientation. We need to make sure that same-sex marriages are okay. Most of the time people get married nowadays isn't even for religious reasons. It's because the tax benefits. Right. And we should not be denied that taxation without representation. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't be denying these people those same benefits that a hetero couple may gain. And then we also need to make sure we're protecting the rights of same-sex marriages or same-sex parents that want to adopt. Because I was a cable guy for like 5 years. I've been in thousands of people's homes. I've met so many people. It's insane. I worked in the oil field for 2 years where I've been on 1,000 oil rigs meeting all these different people. I've lived in California, Nevada, Wyoming, Louisiana, Arkansas. I've been all over the place and have met all sorts of different kinds of people. You know what? I have seen some same-sex parents that are way better parents than many hetero couples that I have seen. It has nothing to do with the sexual orientation on whether or not you're a good parent. And we need to make sure that, don't come over this way because I don't have a background, baby girl. Go put some clothes on, okay? Sorry, summer.
You're fine. That's
but
cute.
We have to make sure that everybody has protections. Yes. Absolutely. That's the best answer I can give you for that.
Hey, I understand.
So you're
That's
absolutely
awesome,
right
man.
about that. Everyone in this country deserves to have decency, respect, and love, the same rights that everyone else has, the same safe spaces that everyone else has, right? We all deserve, these inalienable rights that the Constitution talks about, and not for, just white people. It needs to be for everyone. It needs to be for women. It needs to be for minorities. It needs to be for natives. It needs to go across the board for every single person that's in this nation. We are never going to be great until we start taking care of everyone. This bullshit that Trump throws out there, make America great again. No, that means make America white again. That's what he's talking about. That's that white supremacy where they want to have the whites on top of everybody else. And, I'm honest about this shit. A lot of people get mad at me because I say this and I use some foul language. I don't care.
Sometimes the truth hurts.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it less true. And when we start accepting the truth, no matter how much it hurts, that's when we can start to make progress and change.
Yes, sir.
Yes, right there. That's what I'm talking about. It's all about honesty. People need to have honesty and integrity in this country. And when they stop doing that because they're taking money from somebody else, Big Pharma and all these other interest groups, the NRA and different things like that, that's why our society suffers. It's because a few people take money from big interest groups to control the rest of us. And that's bullshit. We all need the same thing. Housing, healthcare, education, all those things.
Well, a lot of people, one of the big problems I see with our society is we have so many people in our leadership positions who judge how great our society and how great America is by the wealth gains of the richest 1% of 1%. But what we need to judge how great our society is by how well we take care of the most vulnerable of those amongst us. That's when we can be great.
I agree with you 100% right there. Yes, absolutely. We have children in this country that are fucking starving because they can't afford to go to school and have a lunch. That's deplorable, And a lot of these people say that they're proud to be called deplorable. But I'm sorry, that's not right. Children need to be taken care of before anybody else. The handicapped, the minorities in this country that do not have representation like the rest of us. There are 3 of us here that are, Caucasian, and we have a native that's with us right now. The natives are not represented at all in this country. When you look at reservations in this country, when I was in the military, this shocked the hell out of me. Native American reservations are still considered prisoner of war camps, according to the United States military. Most people don't know this shit because they don't look into it. But that's the absolute truth. And they suffer immeasurably, against the rest of the nation. I posted this thing just to be an asshole today on Facebook. I think that, everyone should get reparations today instead of the
I saw
bill.
that.
No, let's give $1 million to all the African Americans and all the natives in this country, and fuck all the white people. That's exactly how I said it, dude. I got death threats over that. But, it's the reality of what needs to happen.
Yeah.
The people that haven't gotten their fair share need to get their fair share before anything else happens. It's crazy.
I would definitely agree with you, Sean. Sean, I think it's on you to ask a question.
Okay. I will pull up the questions real quick. Give me just a second. Here we are. I'm going to skip a couple of these because...
You're fine.
No, hey, it's cool. Our kids come down through here all the time. What are your thoughts about the Black Lives Matter movement? And
we've already went over that one, Sean.
Our government has actually... Did we?
We went over Black Lives Matter.
Okay. I'm sorry.
The one right above that, though.
Matter, people. I'll talk more about it, absolutely, because it's so important. Number one, are the people that are out there marching and protesting for the BLM movement, number one, they're not insurgents. Number two, they're not terrorists. We need to make sure that we recognize these people as American citizens with First Amendment constitutional rights and treat them as American citizens.
Thank you.
When we start looking at a lot of the, say, rioting that's starting and the damage, the problem is a lot of that stuff is started by people who are with the BLM protesters that are not part of the movement. They are agitators coming in. We saw that in Bentonville.
Right.
Straight in Bentonville at the square. They were there for like 2 or 3 hours peacefully protesting, taking a knee, chanting, singing. Everything was beautiful. And then the Nazis came in, and once the Nazis came in, then some random person with a backpack comes into their peaceful group and chucks a water bottle towards the Nazis at the police officers, and that's when the tear gas and the flashbangs and all of that stuff comes out. We saw it with the riots that started in Minneapolis. There were videos of off-duty police officers going to AutoZone and busting out the windows. We have to make sure that we understand that there are a lot of people participating in this movement across the country. There are millions of people, and there might be 1 or 2 bad eggs or a few people who are a little too extreme, but everything has some people that are too extreme. There are some Christians that are too extreme Christians that go and shoot up buildings. There are some, we just have to make sure we're treating people with their constitutional righs.
I completely agree.
It really bothers me so much the way that my opponent Tom Cotton has been talking about this and using his position of power to demonize these people that are just pushing for rights, for equality, for justice. You know what? We do need justice. We do need peace, and justice is going to be the price of peace. That's just as simple as it's going to be.
Well, and Dan, actually, I can kind of expand upon that, and I want to ask you about this. Obviously, I'm not sure. Are you a veteran, or are you familiar with the the Geneva Convention and all that?
I tell my family not to join the military.
Okay.
I decided to go to work and to start a family. Both of my brothers served. My brother-in-law served. All of my uncles served. My grandparents.
Awesome.
A lot of people also don't realize how hard it is for family members of our veterans, not just the veterans themselves.
Right.
But I am personally not a veteran.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you is, myself and Tolly were a part of the protests here in Little Rock, and there was a situation. I wasn't there that night, and I believe, Tolly, you were in Conway that night, but there was a situation where there was a clearly marked medical tent.
The medical tent?
That was fired upon by Arkansas State Police. A clearly marked medical tent, Red Cross, everything. And it was fired and tear gassed upon by Arkansas State Police. I kind of want your opinion on that. I mean, that screams act of war against non-combatants to me. when I look at my understanding of the Geneva Convention. But maybe you can help me understand this a little bit more, because my blood boils when I hear stuff like that.
The way I feel about it is, if we're not allowed to invade a foreign country and do something like using chemical weapons or attacking medics, then there's absolutely no reason why we should be allowed to do it against American citizens here on domestic soil.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
I mean, we definitely have to do that. We need to stop using tear gas against protesters. Tear gas, we need to stop using less lethal weapons in ways that they're not intended to be used. Less lethal weapons are not intended to be shot at somebody's face, to bust out eyes and cause brain injuries. That's not what they're intended to be used as.
Yes,
and we need to make sure that the people who are using these chemical weapons against Americans, these people who are shooting Americans in the face, some even point blank on some of these terrible videos, are being held criminally liable.
Well,
these people should be in jail. They should be in prison.
I mean, I know we're getting off into the weeds in this, Dan, but, I mean, the orders come from the top. I mean, and we know who the top in this state is as far as that goes, unfortunately. So, I mean, can we really hold him responsible, except for the voting poll? You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Yeah, I do. And it's really hard because, you know, the way I'm not a soldier, I'm not a veteran, but I feel like if I was in a war and I was given orders to say shoot a child right there in the face, I wouldn't do it even though they were my orders.
Sean can back me up. You are required by the U.S. By the UCMJ to deny any unlawful orders, and that's what I'm wondering. Maybe it's different for police. But we have that right.
Okay, so before you bring that up, okay, you want to break down what a lawful order is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it all depends on the rules of combat. It all depends on the threat level. At the time, they can spin anything that they want to in the military. Okay. I mean, we can look at the NFL football player. What was his name? He played for the Cardinals.
Oh, Pat Tillman.
Pat Tillman, one of the great, stories that we need to talk about. He was killed by friendly fire, by his own troops. The military covered this up. It went all the way up to Donald Rumsfeld. It got all the way to Congress. His family sat right there in front of Congress and Donald Rumsfeld, and they didn't do a fucking thing. Nothing.
Right.
They shook hands. They said, hey, good job, blah, 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 this and that. And Pat Tillman's name...
Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you will be able to listen to the show.
Test. And if they're doing it peacefully, we should not do anything to harm them at all. The thing is that this is pissing off a lot of white people in this country, and they're using everything that they can. Donald Trump should not be able to use 70,000 federal agents to come into any city that he wants to actually use martial law against people. There's the NRA to speak against this right now. That's what they're here for, and they're not saying a word. Now, excuse my language and my rant, but that's how I feel about that shit.
Now you're spot on. Spot on.
I would agree. We do have a question from our Facebook comments section real quick. Mr. Bradley Hicks, who's who's a host on one of our shows, asks, "What's your thoughts on the unemployment benefits being discussed at the moment?" I'm thinking he's probably asking about the Republican stimulus proposal today, where it slashes the additional benefits from 600 all the way down to 200. I guess is what he's wanting to get your thoughts on.
So, number one, what we really need, rather than expanding the unemployment benefits, the additional benefits for COVID, is we need a People's Act. We need a new stimulus. And what we need, so first we have the CARES Act. And the CARES Act was a $2.5 trillion corporate slush fund to billionaires and corporations where, Americans, we got $1,200 for 4 months. That's great. Thank you so much. I'm glad that all my bills have waited.
Right.
Now, what we need, we bailed out billionaires and corporations. Now we have to bail out the rest of our society if we want to keep it from collapsing without having to risk hundreds of thousands of people or even millions of people dying from COVID-19. We need a People's Act. We need to make sure that every single Social Security holder in America is getting $2,000 a month until after the pandemic is over. And that's going to be when there's a vaccine. And I mean, it may be a year, but you know what? We can afford it. We can. I mean, look at modern money.
Yes.
We can afford to do anything. If we can come up with $6.5 trillion to inject into Wall Street, we can come up with a few $1 trillion to put into people's pockets so that they can pay their mortgage, their rent, their car payment, not have to worry about their car getting repossessed, their utilities to keep their heat on and their air conditioner, especially when it's summer. We have to make sure we're taking care of the people, and the People's Act is going to be the correct answer. If we can't get the People's Act passed, we have to make sure that we do extend that unemployment benefit, because we have over 40 million people have filed for unemployment since the pandemic started. And last month on the 1st, we had 12 million people miss their rent or mortgage. People are losing
they're going to be
everything.
affected. Yes.
They are, and people are losing everything, and we have to make sure that we're taking care of these people. Most of them are good people.
Yes, sir.
I lost you on video because my VPN disconnected, but I'll have you shortly back. So, so that's how I feel about that, is we need to make sure that we are, if we cannot get the People's Act passed, which is what has to be done, that's the most important thing, then we need to make sure that we can expand that unemployment benefit until, honestly, I hate to say the foreseeable future, but until this is no longer the type of worldwide pandemic that we are facing right now. Our numbers are going up every day here in Arkansas. We hit like a 2,000 case average over 2 days or something like that. It's right.
Yes, sir.
And
and that's
we have
something that most people don't understand. When you look at the Spanish flu, the pandemic that hit in the early 1900s, it took 2 years for us to get back to normal. Okay? We're 6 months into this. 6 months.
Yes.
We still have a year and a half to go if we reach that 2-year mark. Okay? That's modern America. That's the way we are. I'm lucky I work for the government. Same thing with, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
We are essential workers. That's just the reality for us. We've been having to do a lot of bullshit for America, okay? It is what it is. It sucks, but it is what it is. We're talking 12, 16-hour days, 5, 6 days a week. It is what it is. But everyone else that's out there that has been laid off, that doesn't have the ability to pay their rent, we need to take care of them. Okay? We can't let landlords just throw people out on the streets. What the hell's going to happen to everybody? Okay?
Right?
The Great Depression, the silent generation was the greatest generation because they actually, they tightened their belts and they took care of everybody.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, why can't our generation, why can't the millennials and Generation X and the fucking boomers do the same thing? That's all I'm saying.
I agree. Tolly, I think we're on to you as far as the question goes. I kind of skipped you to get that comment, but we have about 2 left, so I think it's on to you. I let you know which 2 we have left here on the list.
I got it. What are your thoughts on the separation of church and state, including removing the 10th Amendment statue from Capitol grounds?
Oh. So, I don't think we should remove the Ten Commandment statue from Capitol grounds. Okay. I think it's all right there for now. It's not causing. It's not like a symbol of racism or hatred. It is just what it is. Now, as far as the separation of church and state, it is essential in our government, and it is so essential. It is in our Constitution. One of the reasons that our ancestors had fled the European nations and fled other parts of the world to come and start a new nation of their own was to flee religious persecution. We have to make sure that there is a very clear separation of church and state, which I'm very disappointed every single time I see a government elected official using their public forum like social media to promote religion. It just shouldn't be that way. If we want to get rid of the separation of church and state, if we want to allow priests and pastors to tell their patrons how to vote, then tax them and then let them deal with it. But there should be a clear separation between church and state. It has to be there.
I know Sean would absolutely love that answer about taxing the churches, because that is one of his big things is go ahead and tax the churches. Politics. I completely agree, though.
It is also hard to say just tax churches, because it has to be a thing where you tax based on the size, income, and things like that, because we do have a lot of smaller churches that don't have a lot of income that are actually in debt because they put a lot of money into their communities. True. Now, when we start talking about giant churches and mega churches, that's a different issue. Those people have to, I would love to see them taxed. I think there was a church in Texas, and they were robbed a couple years ago. Their safe was robbed. One Sunday, one week. Yes. And they're like, well, we're going to offer a $25,000 reward if someone will, find out who did this. And then it's like, man, that's a big reward for, stealing a church revenue. So then you start looking into their finances and how much money they make. These churches are making like $800,000 a week. A week. And where is this money going? It's buying private jets for these pastors and big giant mansions. A lot of it isn't going back into our society. A lot of it goes to offshore banks where they can avoid taxation. And it's definitely something that one day does have to be addressed.
Absolutely.
But we have to make sure we're careful not to hurt our smaller churches, because a lot of them can't afford that. They are doing the best they can, and they're doing everything for the right reasons. So we have to be careful.
So, Dan...
No, I agree with that.
Go ahead, Sean.
No, I was going to say, I agree with that. These small churches that are out there, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God, but I do believe in the freedom of religion. Okay? These small churches that are out there that are actually helping their communities and doing things like that, I absolutely agree they should be able to do everything that they do. The mega churches that are out there where Joel Osteen is driving a damn Bentley and has private jets, and, these guys are multi-millionaires.
It's essentially Walmart.
One of these churches, the pastor is a billionaire. Okay, he has 6 private jets. He's a billionaire. I don't want to. Okay, Kenneth Copeland. That's his name. Fuck the guy. Kenneth Copeland has six private jets. He's a billionaire, and you know what? Fuck that guy. He needs to be taxed at 80%. These mega churches that go out there and they prey on these old people that think that they're about to die and go to heaven. We need to give everything that we can to them. I know a person personally who has bought so much of this shit from Jim Baker up in Missouri, all this end of the times, food supplements. It caused the whole family. It caused the entire family to be like, holy shit, what are we going to do? Her garage is full of this shit.
Yeah.
They prey. They prey on the elderly. They prey on people that are undereducated. that don't know any better, that think that they're living in the end times. You know, if you think that, that's cool. You know, if that's your prerogative, you think you're going to be raptured here sometime soon, cool. I don't care. But billions of dollars don't pray on this. Exactly.
Well, and I think that's, that's very important, Sean. But I did want to ask you real quick. Obviously, I know we're getting up across the 11 o'clock, or excuse me, the 9:15 part of the hour here. But I do want to ask you real quick, Dan. I'm going to give you a little bit of red meat here to throw to you, but I want you to go ahead and address the statements made by our current senator over the past couple days about the founding fathers believing that slavery was a necessary evil, and the other statements that he's made about slavery and things of that nature. What are your thoughts on that?
So, the first thing we really should clarify, he did not say that slavery was a necessary evil. He said the founding fathers said that.
Okay.
But what we do have to understand also is he completely agrees and believes that.
Okay.
So he may have been quoting, but he still means it. I mean, 100%. The meaning is there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, I just don't understand where he even comes up with some of these crazy ideas, where he thinks it's okay to say such hateful things, incendiary things. I mean, it even started a long time ago, of course, with his letter to the Iranian government, where he actually got 46 other senators to sign his letter telling the foreign government that they will not do whatever our president says, which was against the Logan Act, treaty, basically, anyways. Starting all the way from then, and then he had, he's just done so much. Let's see if I can even keep track of it all. He tried to get it so that we would ban Chinese students from coming here to learn, STEM programs and science and math. And he said, if Chinese students want to come here, they can learn Shakespeare and the Federalist Papers. Number one, Shakespeare wasn't written in America. But, that's just where that racism starts to come into play. And then he goes into things with calling for no quarter against American citizens expressing their First Amendment constitutional rights. And then it goes into calling for an overwhelming show of military force against American citizens showing their rights. And then it comes into they're insurrectionists. It just keeps escalating and escalating. And then he comes out against the 1619 Project because he doesn't want to accept the fact that this is the truth, this is what happened, and we should teach our children the truth. And then he even comes to racism was a necessary evil. I mean, it goes on and on and on, and it's just really crazy. I honestly don't understand how I don't even know, man.
I'll tell you. I kind of understand what you were going at there. You don't understand how he was elected and things like that. Dan, I'll tell you the reason why I voted for him. I didn't do my due diligence. I saw veteran. I saw a guy who supposedly served pretty admirably, and that's what I saw. And I thought, hey, this guy's gonna do a lot for me. And, like I told you before we came on, he's just continually let me down ever since I made those votes. Or that vote.
Well, he got elected because of money. He took $8.5 million from the Koch brothers, and 0.91% of the time, if a candidate has more money, they win an election. So he took a bunch of money. And, it all comes down to financial corruption. I can understand why people voted for him because, like you said, a lot of people don't know some of the most important websites on the internet, which are votesmart.org and opensecrets.org. With these two websites, you can research any politician, you can see how they voted, and you can see where their money is coming from, which are two very, very important things to think about when deciding on who you're going to vote for. Right. So I always try to plug those two websites so that people can be like, interesting. Because, it's really fun. Just go to opensecrets.org and just put in Obama. put in Trump, put in Hillary, put in Bernie, put in all these random politicians' names and look at where their money comes from and how much they get. It's a very interesting thing. And unfortunately, after you spend a few hours digging in there, you're going to start to find that Republicans and Democrats are taking money from the same exact billionaires.
Ooh.
Yes, they are. Yes. I'm so glad that you said that. You know,
Wow.
You can talk about Nancy Pelosi. You can talk about all of the Democrats that are in California. They're taking money from Big Pharma. They're taking money from China. They're taking money from the NRA. Everybody. They all do it. They're all fucking dirty. You know? I mean, when you become a congressman, you should be required to watch Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Yes, you know? Yes. I mean, yes. That is politics 101. You need to represent the people that you have been sent to Washington to represent, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. And
I love
so
that
many
movie.
people, they get to Washington and they have to spend, you know, when a junior senator gets to Washington, they have to spend those first 2 years raising money. That's all they do. They don't do anything else. They sit on the phone and they raise all this money and they're like, oh yeah, you know, for my re-election campaign, blah, 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 this and that, Tom Cotton did it. You know, most of the bitches in fucking Congress did it. You know, excuse my language again. But that's just the way it is. And they're
You know what's
bought
interesting
and
about my
sold.
campaign?
Yeah.
I am not running a re-election campaign. If my name will be on the ballot in 2026 again once I beat Tom Cotton in November. But I will not run a re-election campaign. If I'm doing a good job, then vote for me. If I'm not, then don't. But I'm not going to waste your time and your money and selling my soul and your voice to corporations. It just doesn't make sense.
That's so amazing. Honestly,
And our campaign, we are 100% grassroots. We haven't taken money, even from political parties, political action committees, any special interests or billionaires or giant corporations. Our campaign is 100% grassroots. And I'm really proud to say that because that allows me the ability to work for my constituents and nobody else.
Well, I tell you, Dan, one thing I'm so proud that I heard you talk about on that stream was, you know, you're completely transparent with your money. Sean, I don't know if you caught it when we were on his website earlier, but there's a tab that literally says expenses, and he will break down every penny that he spends. And who else can say that?
But that's the way it should be. You know, I mean, we have a president right now that won't release his tax returns because he's so afraid to show the American people that he doesn't pay any fucking taxes, right? That, you know, that they might turn on him, which he doesn't understand. His base isn't going to turn on him no matter what. He could rape a fucking 3-year-old white baby in front of everybody, and his base isn't going to turn on him. That's the disgusting reality of Donald
why
Trump.
it was okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's an extreme case, but yeah, I agree, unfortunately. But, I mean, I have to give you that shout out, Dan. Honestly, I have to give you that shout out, man. I appreciate that so much, and we have you now back on the stream here. I have to tell you, I appreciate that so much for you to be that transparent. You know, I've kind of gotten to a point. I don't know, Dan, if you've seen House of Cards on Netflix, but I got to the point where you guys were talking about you talking about that movie, and I was like, you know what? I sat here and said that modern politics is House of Cards. Because truly, I believe that. I've got that kind of apathy that I believe that people are getting whacked in the subway. You know, I wouldn't doubt it.
I think it happens a lot more than we know. That's for sure. People get assassinated. I mean, I think Donald Trump, didn't he say to take care of someone recently? And then they asked him about it. He's like, oh, I meant to take care of them. Like, wait, what? Are you really going to try to, like, play that dumb?
Right.
I mean, I think it does happen, unfortunately. And that's why that's why I carry my firearm everywhere I go. If I get elected, good. A lot of people stand to lose a lot of money, so I keep my family safe.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You know,
Man.
a lot of. I'm glad you bring that up because a lot of people think because I'm such a leftist that I'm like so pro anti-gun. I am pro protecting your fucking ass. That's it. Protect yourself. Okay? A 6-shot revolver, a shotgun, you know, something like that. Yes. But we have to stop the ability of people to kill people en masse in this country. Look at Sly Stallone. Okay, Sylvester Stallone has made all those Rambo movies, all those, you know, international spy movies, everything he did. He's one of the most pro-gun control conservatives in this country. And that proves that you can have multiple points of view. You know, and I like you, man. You have multiple points of view, and you go across the board, and you've said things that, you know, maybe I don't like, but you know what? They make sense. Mm-hmm. They make sense, and I like that. We need more candidates like that.
I completely agree. Well, Dan, go ahead.
I third that.
Yeah. Dan, we're going to go ahead and let you plug everything and let us know what we can do as far as getting things good to go here come November. Definitely looking forward, and, you know, fingers crossed. If I need to write somebody, definitely let me know so we can make sure you get on the ballot, man, come November, because I'm going to be...
For sure.
I'm going to be so proud. So proud, honestly.
I mean, our case is solid. If you read the transcript, you'll see how solid our case really is. And if you start looking through the legal mumbo-jumbo in the ruling, you'll see that she paved an appeal for us. That's why it took her 4 weeks to write a 61-page document to say no. She paved it out. We're going to win our case. And if they try to do some kind of crazy corruption, like having, you know, close down our expedites and things like that, we're going to take to the streets, man. They're like, well,
Absolutely.
You should be on the ballot because you couldn't get 10,000 signatures. Well, we'll see what they think when we can get 50 or 100,000 people to take to the streets and see if they still think that we don't have the support of the people, because the people are tired of this. We've had enough. We're not represented here in Arkansas. We're really not. We are the 49th richest state in America. The only state more poor than us is Mississippi, and it's been like that for a long time, and nothing is changing. And our representatives, they aren't doing anything to fix that. So we have to have representation that's going to represent us as one of the poorest states by protecting the programs that so many of us survive on, such as Social Security, disability, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, WIC, and CHIP, and all these other things. A lot of conservatives will be like, well, what we need to do is we need to pull out the social safety nets and people will figure it out. I don't think that's the answer. I think what the answer is to pay people livable wage, pay them enough money that they no longer qualify for these programs. That way they don't have to rely on them. And that's the proper way to do it.
Yes, sir.
But as far as a plug and all that stuff, so here's my quick spiel I always do. You know, my name is Dan Whitfield. I am the independent candidate running for United States Senate here in Arkansas, and I will give you the choice to have a voice, and we will beat Tom Cotton in November. So make sure to check out replacetomcotton.com, and you can see my policy stance there. I wrote an autobiography, Hit Meet Dan, and you can read about my childhood, how I became the man I am today. You can also hit the media tab. You can see all my different pictures from before COVID. You can see all of my interviews, all of my live streams every Saturday at 6 p.m., most Saturdays, so I'm not busy. I do a live stream Q&A where I answer questions and give you an update on what's been going on throughout the week. All of those videos are there. You can see my commercials, and I have written 2 op-eds so far in response to Tom Cotton. I wrote an op-ed, Understanding Their Pain, talking about the BLM movement. And then Tom Cotton recently, here's more corruption for you here in Arkansas. So Tom Cotton wrote an op-ed about how ranked choice voting is bad.
Oh, yeah.
Did any of y'all catch that?
Yeah.
The day after he wrote that op-ed was the day the Secretary of State, John Thurston, threw out 90,000 Arkansans signatures and took off ranked choice voting from our ballot.
Oh, my goodness.
After John Thurston has taken money from him.
Of course.
Interesting things to think about. So I did write an op-ed about ranked choice voting on how it is good, how it benefits us and gives us more of a choice and more control over our elections. That way we don't have to choose between the lesser of two evils if we like a candidate that we may not think is electable. So check all that stuff out. And then, of course, what y'all had mentioned, the expenses tab, you can see every single penny I've spent in my campaign. But yeah, check out replacetomcotton.com. And if you like what you see, our campaign is 100% grassroots. If you can afford to donate a few bucks, please do it. If you can't, I totally understand with people. We have unemployment and people losing everything. Don't feel bad if you can't donate. I get it. But what you can do instead is follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, share my tweets, share my posts, and we can get the word out there and make sure people know that Tom Cotton is not running unopposed, contrary to what most people do believe because of the media right now.
Yes, sir.
What else can we do? What else can we do to support you besides that?
Yeah. Oh, man, it's so hard right now. So I do have a Slack group if you would like to volunteer for phone banking or texting or things like that, or if you have a special skill set like graphics design, website development, communications, or if you even want to be part of, I have a team set for endorsements where people are just reaching out for endorsements right now. I have a team set for communications where they're reaching out to groups like y'all and trying to schedule interviews with podcasts and independent media sources and major media sources. So if you can help at all, send me a message, a direct message on Facebook or Twitter. Send me an email. Let me know you want an invite to our Slack group, and I will get an invite sent your way.
Absolutely.
Okay. I know a graphic designer right now that would support you 100%. I'm going to send all that information to him. He's going to contact you. I guarantee it. If you want to come on next week, absolutely. If you want to come on next week to American Idiots podcast, you are more than welcome to come on and keep talking about this. We'll do this every week until the election. That's absolutely. That's 100% from me. If you want to come on every week, just let me know. Let Michael know. We'll let you come on every week, and we'll talk about all these issues.
Man, I'll tell...
For sure, because there's so much to talk about.
I'll tell you what, Dan, I want to kind of end my part of this on this. I've made a couple votes. I'm a 30-year-old individual. I've made a couple votes in my life, but I can honestly tell you, you are going to be the first person I vote for that I'm 100% proud of myself to vote for. You are amazing, and I promise, I really hope that we get this done come November.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. I mean, it has been a roller coaster with everything that we're going through, and I wouldn't be able to do this without the just amazing support from everybody like you, so I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Sean, Tolly, any last thoughts for Mr. Whitfield?
I just want to piggyback on Carnahan and say that I, too, am really excited for an opportunity to vote for a candidate that I think actually represents the constituents. I'm really glad to have the opportunity to listen to you tonight and ask you some questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you.
Sean?
And y'all are awesome.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. If you want to come on every Monday night from now on, I am absolutely for that. Being the progressive of the group, I will support that 100%. You need a voice. You want to put that out there. Absolutely, I will push it. I'm gonna repost this time and time again. You have said things that are amazing, that are wonderful, and that you will represent the American people in the state of Arkansas, and that's what we need. We don't need big interests coming in here like the Koch brothers and all their bullshit up in Crossett, Arkansas. We need someone that actually represents everyone, and I think you're that guy.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think just being a regular guy who's gone through so many of these, I mean, I'm not just a regular guy. I've gone through a lot of the things that most people go through every day. So I think that's really a quality we should look for more in our representatives. Because how can you expect someone to represent you if they don't even know what you've been through or what you go through every day?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, you were it. You are absolutely it. You don't have you haven't been bought and sold yet. you are the one that is actually out there looking at everything from a reasonable point of view, and you should be the one that represents everyone in this state.
I completely agree.
And I hate to say it this way, I'm the vulgar one here. Fuck Cotton. You need to be the one that's in office.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Dan, I definitely want to take the time to say thank you so much for joining us again. You're an amazing candidate. Anything that you need, go ahead and hit myself for Sean or Tolly up, and we will go ahead and plug absolutely anything. I plan on having your website on our Facebook page by the end of the night. As soon as we hop off of here for the end of the show, I will go ahead and make sure I plug that on our site as well, and make sure everybody knows that there is an option instead of, sticking with Tom Cotton.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again so much. I really appreciate this opportunity, and y'all have a good night. Reach out anytime.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you again.
Man.
You have a great night.
We want to see you anytime you want to come on, man. Just let us know. We'll do it again. If not next week, then the week after.
Okay. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dan. I'll get
We
with
didn't
you.
even talk about cannabis. I support the federal decriminalization and nationally expunging cannabis-related crimes. I mean,
Oh my
that's
goodness.
huge. Yes.
You are so.
Yes.
Hold up. This dude just keeps getting more amazing. Yeah. I'm definitely going to get you the details for 2 weeks from tonight, and we'll have you back on.
All right, cool beans, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mike and Sean. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, I'm going to hang out, and if you need anything, reach out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We will. We're going to reach out. Thank you, man.
Well, once again, that was the independent candidate for Senate from the state of Arkansas, Mr. Dan Whitfield. And we're going to try to go ahead and get through all of our topics here tonight. Tolly, you may have to hop on your phone for the internet if we go into into overtime here. But my goodness, I mean, I just need to have a quick,
Okay.
Holy crap, that was like a religious
That
experience.
dude was fucking awesome, right?
I meant every word I said. He is going to be the first gentleman I vote for that I am completely 100% proud and can say I am proud that I'm going to cast my vote for.
I mean, he's so fucking awesome. He hasn't been bought by anybody. He wants to represent everyone that's in this state. Now, that doesn't go along with the Congress. Congress isn't going to like that shit. If he gets elected, they're going to hit him right away. They're going to be like, you need to do all this bullshit to get reelected, blah, 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 blah. That's just how Congress works. But if he gets fucking elected over Tom Cotton, man, that would be awesome, dude. I would fucking love that. He's got my support. We need to put this out, like this video of everything that we've done. You need to repost it every day for the next 7 days. I promise you, dude. You got to do that, dude.
Absolutely. I'm speaking it into the air right now, into existence. Come November, that night, we're going to talk about the biggest upset in Arkansas political history when Dan Whitfield takes out Tom Cotton out of his Senate seat and becomes the senator from the state of Arkansas. I'm speaking it into existence. I truly believe that. But we got our first caller of the evening calling in from New York. We have an 845 area code, so we'll go ahead and bring them on live. Caller, are you with us?
Let's do this.
Hello, how are you this evening?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How about you, man?
How are you?
Good. I just tuned you in and just turned on at the end of your interview that you did. I'm sorry I missed it, but yeah, just keep me on mute, and if I have something or a question, I'll hit one to chime in. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, feel free. We'll throw you back on mute as you wish. We've got a little bit of stuff to talk about here. We're not going to do a commercial break because obviously we've got a lot more to talk about here tonight. But let's go ahead and start out with the news that broke Sunday evening, I want to say. And oh, good Lord, we got Miss Tolly Brim back. There we go. Tolly Brim back in action. But Regis Philbin, my goodness. I was talking to Sean last night about this, Tolly. When I saw that, I had to read it twice. It was like Kobe. When Kobe passed, I was like, really? Wait, no. No way. No.
This guy is a Hollywood pimp. He is from New York to California in the entertainment industry. He was the shit. And, the fact that he's gone, yeah, that's sad. He might have been a Trump supporter, but you know what? Fuck that. This guy was cool. He was cool from New York to California. He did Broadway. He did everything. I'm sorry that he's gone. I don't care who he supported. He was a cool dude in my book. I really love the guy. Regis Philbin, right there, man. I'm sorry you're gone. Rest in peace, brother.
He provided us with so many years of entertainment. We hit on it last night. Him and Kathy Lee Gifford, and him and I forget the other woman's name that he was on with. Kelly Ripa. That was her name. Yeah, Kelly Ripa. I mean, the years and years of entertainment. I remember when I'd stay home from school watching Regis of a morning. It's just one of those things I did because Regis was one of those outrageous guys, but he wasn't outrageous he didn't ever take it too far. It was one of those situations where you could watch Regis and you wouldn't be exposed to craziness, but at the same time, he'd say some wild stuff if you caught him on the right day. So definitely gonna miss him. Tali, any thoughts on Regis passing away?
Well, growing up the way I did, especially growing up in Samoa, we didn't really get a lot of television except for stuff like game shows.
Right.
And so I always remember Regis Philbin from the game shows he did and those late nights and waiting up with my parents to watch Want to Be a Millionaire and what was it? Jeopardy. I remember Jeopardy back in the day. What was that dude's name?
Alex Trebek. Alex Trebek was Jeopardy.
Alex Trebek?
That's Alex Trebek.
Yes. Alex Trebek was Jeopardy. And my dog, my girlfriend just came home. That's why she's going crazy, guys. Sorry.
Oh, sweet baby.
But
I remember Regis and Kelly when I was really young, and when we first moved to California, and they were the first TV show hosts that I really was exposed to when we made the transition. And their chemistry was always something that astounded me on their little talk show in the morning. My mom loved them.
Absolutely.
That's what she watched.
So Regis and Kathy Lee started in 1984, and it was called Live with Regis and Kathy Lee. And they were on for decades. And when Kathy Lee left the show, then you had Kelly Ripa, and Regis stayed on for a few more years before Michael Smith came on, and Regis Philbin, he was a Broadway star. He works in Hollywood. He did movies. He did TV. He did all sorts of things. He was one of those legends. And like I said, unfortunately, he was a Trump supporter, and that's cool. That was his own perspective. Whatever. But he was a cool dude who talked about entertainment every single day, and most of us grew up watching him. And to see him die, that was really sad.
Absolutely. And, you speak of legends in the entertainment business. We also lost John Saxon, who I don't remember from Enter the Dragon, right, but I remember from Nightmare on Elm Street. Right. I used to always say Freddy was the only character that could ever make me have nightmares as far as horror movies go. And I remember John Saxon in that movie, and I saw that and I was like, what? I mean, it's another one that you just pause and you're like, wow.
Yeah, so John Saxon he was in Enter the Dragon, but he also played the father in the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Johnny
with
Depp
Robert
version.
Englund. And, with Johnny Depp. And, that dude was cool. He's been in so many different sci-fi and horror movies, and so many people they remember him from different roles, but they can't pinpoint him. He's that guy. He's that guy that was in that movie, right?
Absolutely.
But I remember him specifically from Nightmare on Elm Street, and I love that dude. He was amazing. He was a good actor, and you know, they're talking about bringing Kevin Bacon in to do Freddy Krueger in a revamp of A Nightmare on Elm Street.
The last revamp they did, I didn't dig too much, though. Like, nobody can play Freddy for me but Robert Englund.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Robert Englund was perfect, okay? I think that Kevin Bacon could pull it off. Kevin Bacon has enough. I mean, have you ever played
7 Degrees of
Seven
Kevin
Degrees
Bacon?
of Kevin Bacon?
Yeah.
Yes! I mean, he knows so much about pop culture. I think he could pull it off. I think he could be just right underneath, like right there. He could be right there with Robert Englund. Because, like, Freddy was my man back in the day. I used to love all those movies. I saw Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 2, The Dream Warriors, everything. Freddy versus Jason, all that shit. I thought that shit was awesome. You know, my wife doesn't like the slasher movies as much as I do, but, yeah, Freddy was always my favorite. I mean, Freddy versus Jason, Freddy wins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Dude, Freddy was amazing. Any thoughts on John Saxon passing away, Tolly? Or was he a little bit too old school for you?
I do love Robert Englund as Freddy, and I remember Freddy vs. Jason being so damn scary because they were like dreaming while they were away. They're like crazy. They couldn't escape. They're done.
Nothing could do.
Did you ever see Freddy's Nightmares?
Freddy's Nightmares. Was that the TV show, the short-lived TV show they did in the late 80s?
There was a television series called Freddy's Nightmares in the late 90s, okay? And it was like the Twilight Zone or the Outer Limits, but it was Freddy. And Freddy would come on, and he would be like, I'm going to tell you about this nightmare or whatever. And it would be an entire episode. It lasted like 3 years. It was really cool.
Dang.
You know, if you like Freddy, I mean, when you look at Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers or Freddy, who was the best?
Oh, definitely Freddy.
Freddy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For my money, it was Freddy.
So if Kevin Bacon can come back and do Freddy, and he does it just like Robert Englund, dude, it's gonna blow up, man.
I don't even know who the last guy. I don't even know who the last guy was that played Freddy in that remake, but that remake was terrible in my opinion.
The guy that did the remake was the guy that worked on The Watchmen, and he played Rorschach in The Watchmen.
Oh, okay.
And the problem they had was that they actually turned Freddy into a child molester.
Right.
Well,
which, I mean,
Freddy
he
wasn't a child.
He was in the original, but it wasn't a major plot line.
No.
Oh, he wasn't?
No.
I thought he was a kid,
Freddy was not a child molester. He was a child murderer.
Oh, okay.
There's a big difference between the two.
Oh.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So when you cross that line and you actually make him a molester, people don't like that shit. But if you just make him a child killer, they like it. It's kind of crazy,
Right.
honestly.
Very true, very true. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a official GOP proposal for a stimulus package, and I'm going to have to hop back on the Republican bandwagon on this one. I like it.
Okay.
I like it. I like the $1,200 check. I like the $500. They got rid of basically the age limit for a dependent, which I think helps a lot more people.
Yeah.
The only thing that could potentially be considered a negative is they took away the $600 additional unemployment and made it $200. We talked about this earlier. If you can't, me and Sean both talked about this earlier. Tolly, maybe you can expand upon this a little bit for us, but if you can't live on $400 a week, I'm not sure that I can get on board with you. I mean, that's what, 4, 8, 12, only $1,600 a month? That's quite a bit of money.
That's about what I bring in a month. like before any kind of like bonus
I
or
know.
anything like that, but just like the base of what I made.
I know.
Right.
I-
And that's one thing that Michael and I talked about earlier tonight is that taking the $600 down to $200. I completely agreed with, only because I saw a lot of people that quit their jobs immediately when this shit happened because they thought that they were going to make more money, and they actually did. They made more money than if they were actually working. And I thought, man, that's fucked up because we needed these people. We needed people to help us out. We needed people to be in their jobs, and they weren't there because they wanted the money. So lowering it down to 200, I think is a good thing, but that's just from personal experience.
I don't necessarily agree with what you said there, Sean, because I've had somebody that unfortunately had to be on unemployment for the past number of months, and it's not necessarily a situation where they don't want to work, but at a certain point, how can you say that you want to go make minimum wage when you know that you can make what they make? You're asking somebody to go from making enough to survive and even thrive a little bit to making less than a livable wage in most cases as far as minimum wage goes. I definitely support something that the Republicans have asked for multiple times, and that's a payroll or a back-to-work situation where you get an additional money just for going back to work. If you put an extra $200-$300, well, there you go. We're not drinking Coors tonight. We're drinking Land Shark. But if you put something out there that, hey, we realize that there's really only minimum wage jobs out there right now, we'll give you an extra $200 to make sure you can still afford your rent and afford all your utilities. Then I think you could see that. Minimum wage, though, Sean, we've argued it's not necessarily a livable wage.
Can people really afford their rent at that point, though? That's the thing that I work for the government, just like you do, and I've seen a lot of people that used to work for me take advantage of this system. They clocked in and they went home, and they didn't do a fucking thing all day, and they got caught and they were fired. Now they get to get unemployment, and they get to make a lot more money than what they were making before.
Right.
And this happened to like 10 people that used to work for me. That sucks, man, because first off, they didn't have any integrity to do their job, but the government was willing to give them more money to basically fuck off. I don't like that shit. I do like the fact that the government has lowered it down from 600 to 200 because it makes it more realistic as far as what people that were making that amount of money can actually pay their rent and their bills.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think in your situation, yeah, that's the problem. We've actually had people at our business, Tolly, that have easily gotten fired just because they knew they had that to fall back on.
Right?
I don't necessarily.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily that. I agree with that by any stretch of the imagination, because I live comfortably right now. Of course, I have my girlfriend's income as well. She works at the same place, but I live comfortably. I'm sure you live pretty reasonably comfortably right now.
Oh yeah, I'm doing pretty.
We don't lay awake at night worrying about bills. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those situations where I'm like, so you're gonna leave a situation where that's greed, in my opinion. That is greed. But for the people, let's say, that got laid off right before COVID happened, or right at the beginning of COVID, before we got sent home, those people, I know people that are still sitting there collecting their their unemployment checks because, why would you go to McDonald's and fill out an application and work for McDonald's when you can sit at home and do that? Why lower your wage and lower your ability to pay your bills when you have this guarantee to pay your bills sitting at the house? That's a situation where I'm like, man, I can't really attack that thought process. That's why I think the return to work policy that, the GOP, and I'm going to throw up saying this, but I think it was actually spearheaded by Trump, I kind of sort of agree with, hey, we'll let you go ahead and go work at McDonald's, but we'll give you this additional on top of it to make sure you can pay your bills. You know how you fix that, though? You probably raise minimum wage to a livable wage. I mean, that's just a thought. But, it's just one of those things. I hesitate to attack people that are, everybody that is on unemployment right now for, that isn't taking advantage of it, I should say. We also have that health experts are now recommending a second shutdown. I know that COVID cases here in the state are at an all-time high right now. We're setting records just about every single day for new COVID cases. I've talked to different individuals. I've talked to my significant other before about this. Recently, I feel like this mask mandate is the last straw before Asa does sit there and say, you know what? We're going on lockdown. I feel like this is the last straw. If this doesn't work, he's gonna mandatory lockdown everybody here in the state. Which is kind of funny to me because 2 months ago he wrote an op-ed about how he beat COVID without shutting the state down and everybody should follow his plan. I just laugh at that now, but You remember that, Sean?
I mean, honestly, yes, I can say that and I'm biased, so let me say that before I actually continue. Any Republican politician that says anything positive about the COVID-19 epidemic that we have is full of shit and a piece of shit, okay? It is only the people that have actually looked to take care of our citizens that have actually done well. Dr. Fauci, he's tried to do the best that he can. He's made some mistakes.
Sean, your microphone, expected. Bubba, your microphone, we can't really understand you.
Oh.
You're good.
Can you hear me now?
You're good.
Okay. So Dr. Fauci has made some mistakes. He's backtracked a couple of times, but that's expected because he's a scientist and he's going to look at the actual facts and he's going to say, hey, this is what works, this is what doesn't work based on what has actually happened.
Let's be honest, everything's a hypothesis at this point. Everything's a hypothesis at this point with COVID-19, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we went from only children and old people.
We know so little about it. We're still trying to learn enough to make a vaccine or do anything.
We went from only children and old people are affected to everybody.
They haven't made one because they don't know enough.
I see these.
Right. I look at
criticizing an expert for looking at evidence and taking that information to inform the public. I think it's kind of stupid because it's a new virus we're still learning about.
Of course,
COVID-19 is in the year 2019 is discovered.
Dolly's absolutely right because it took the Spanish epidemic of the Spanish flu 2 fucking years. 2 years before everything got back to normal. We're 6 months into this shit. And that's what I was trying to say earlier tonight. 6 months into this shit, we still have a year and a half to go. So most people in this country who are entitled, fat, fucking white Americans who can kiss my ass are going to fucking raise all this bullshit over this. I have to wear a mask at Walmart. Oh, I have to wear a mask at fucking, Papa John's or wherever the fuck I buy pizza. This is going to keep happening, and we're going to keep seeing this over and over again online.
I mean, Sean,
and it's fucking sad.
This has got to be the last straw, right? I mean, is that what you're thinking? This is the last straw before Asa shuts us down.
No, it's not the last straw, because he keeps playing these fucking games. Okay, he keeps trying to play towards his constituency and big business. Big pharma, all this other bullshit, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. We said that just 2 weeks ago. You and I both said that.
I agree.
Okay? Yeah. So, we got 2 years, man. We're 6 months into 2 years. After 2 years, things will get better, but not until then. And that's what sucks for the rest of us that are facing reality
on a daily basis.
Every day, as far as this pandemic goes, yeah, we're just kind of fucked because we have to fucking live day to day, and hopefully we don't get this shit. Right?
I mean, and that's the thing. You face it every single day. Luckily, myself and Tali have been afforded the ability to work from home. But, Sean, you fight it on a daily basis, and, hats off to you on that.
Yeah.
And
I got to go to work tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got to work a 16-hour shift tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. Am I going to get this shit? I hope not. But if I do, fuck it, I got to deal with it.
Right.
Same thing with everybody else. If any of us get this shit, fuck it, we all got to deal with it. But let's hope that none of us get this shit. Let's hope that people wear their fucking masks when they go to Walmart or fucking Home Depot or where the fuck they're going, and they quit fucking throwing fits over this shit, and they just start doing what's best for everybody.
Right. I completely agree with that statement. And, of course, dial in 347-989-1171, or actually feel free to chime in on the comment section, because we're about 2 minutes. So, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and end the episode on our blog talk. If you want to continue watching, go to YouTube, The American Idiots Podcast, or go to the Facebook page, The American Idiots Podcast, and we will continue over there. Feel free to chime into the comments section, but I'm going to go ahead and end that episode right there. Hopefully we pull everybody back. I know I'm going to have to unmute, I'm sure you guys, to get you guys in, but I can't unmute you, Tali. You have to unmute yourself on your actual webcam. Okay, awesome. So we are good to go here. Let me switch that to my earphones. So, yes, I can hear you, Sean. So continuing going into overtime here a little bit, but our next thing, and literally I praise Trump for the go back to work thing, or I didn't even praise him. I said he may have had something to do with it, but now I'm literally about to spit fiery anger at this man.
What are you doing?
The commander-in-chief of this fucking country is refusing to do his fucking job as the commander-in-chief, and he says he will not attend the funeral of Representative Lewis. Sean, you had a good take on this earlier, and maybe I'm too quick to jump to conclusions on this, but what he said definitely sounds like he's a piece of shit human being.
Right. So, like, when they came to him and they actually asked him, are you going to go to the actual funeral for John Lewis? And he said, no, I'm not going to have anything to do with that. You're a piece of shit. You're a coward. You're a fucking piece of shit. I fucking hate you for the rest of my life. I hope you fucking die of COVID. I don't give a shit what anybody says about that. John Lewis was a goddamn American fucking hero. He stood for civil rights, and he walked across that bridge at Selma, and he deserves everything that he's getting right now. He's laid out right now in the goddamn Capitol, and people should go there if they can to go fucking pay respect to him. The fact that the president doesn't, he's a goddamn no good piece of shit coward. Coward. Let me rephrase that again. He's a coward. Coward. Piece of shit.
I agree. I agree with that statement. I mean, Tolly, I've never seen anything like this in American history. Sean, you mentioned that maybe he was asked not to attend. That's possible.
Yeah.
That's possible, and in that case, maybe I'll backtrack. But the fact that he just flat said no, I'm not going to go,
Yeah.
is disrespectful, in my opinion, to the legacy of a great American, a great human being, and is unbecoming of the office of the presidency.
Yeah, I think it's definitely in poor form to.
Right.
And I think Trump's issue is that he doesn't take the time to think about how he's going to say something or type it before it comes out, which is sad because that's the whole point of like everyone in his administration. But so it comes off in poor form, and like you guys are saying, maybe he was asked not to come, but that's where we get into knowing how to address people to tell us that as a public. You're a commander in chief. You should be able to do that, whether we're going to agree with it or not.
I'm going to use a word, and I'm not sure if he invented this, but this was something that Bush said quite often, was something being presidential or not being presidential. And what he means by that is showing respect to the office and acting as a president should. And this is the most unpresidential piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, and the sad thing is that's why people voted for him, is because he wouldn't be presidential. But
real quick, okay, and people will understand this, okay. Even if I didn't agree with anything that John Lewis said, right? He was an adversary to me. I would show great respect to show up to his funeral.
Even John McCain was one of his biggest opponents in the fucking Senate.
Yeah.
On the Republican side, mind you. And he still took the time. He didn't even say, no, I can't go because of social distancing. No, I can't go because I wasn't asked to. He just flat out said, no, I will not.
Because he's a coward piece of shit. Donald Trump will always be a coward piece of shit as far as I'm concerned.
America has nothing better to do but watch. And I guarantee you, watch this. I guarantee you one person will be sitting there, and that will be Joe Biden. I guarantee you Joe Biden will be at that funeral. Right. And as much as we talked about it last night, Tolly, we did a station update last night, and we kind of got into this a little bit. As much as we talked about how he hasn't come out and he hasn't laid out his plan, still has not picked a running mate as of right now. That'll speak volumes yet again for me. The fact that he can act presidential, but the current president of the United States cannot. That'll speak volumes.
I agree that you probably expect to see Biden there. I agree that Biden has the ability to act presidential, but that's because he has a career in politics. And I think the thing that Trump has going for him that keeps his supporters supporting him isn't that he doesn't act presidential. So that's not really what they're looking for from Trump. They're looking for someone who's not a politician. And, they think, he's not a politician. So he's like, well, no, he's a fucking billionaire. He's nothing like you. And I think that when we're talking about Biden, what hurts him is his having such a long and busy political history that works against him. So even if he shows up to John Lewis's, memorial and stuff, that's going to be like a small step, and and pandering to a lot of people still.
Very true. And I mean, I guarantee you part of it, part of it may be that he respects John, but part of it is because Joe knows, hey, I'm a presidential candidate. This is what I need to fucking do. But, once again, Joe Biden may very well respect John and, respect the legacy that he's leading. Sean, maybe you can chime in on this. I don't know how close John and Joe were, but, I'm sure if he does show up, it'll have a lot to do with respect he has for Senator or Representative Lewis's life and his accomplishments. But once again, there will still be that piece where his campaign manager is going to say, "Motherfucker, you need to show up. You're a goddamn presidential candidate."
If Joe Biden shows up, then he's doing what he has to do. Okay, again, he's a white American person running for president. If Trump keeps saying that he's not going to show up, he's just a piece of shit coward that he's always been. He didn't serve in the military. He had bone spurs. He didn't want to serve in Vietnam. He was able to buy his way out. This guy is a piece of shit. He's just like Ted Nugent, who shit his pants. Right? You guys probably don't know about this. The guy, Ted Nugent, shit his goddamn pants when he went in front of the fucking board. And they were like, "Oh, okay, you're goddamn crazy. You can't go." But yet he's one of the fucking most vocal voices to fucking support right-wing conservative points of view.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Fuck Ted Nugent. Fuck Donald Trump. Both of them are goddamn cowards. If they want to meet me in a goddamn field, I will kill both of them. If that's what they want to fucking do.
Hold up, the CIA just hijacked this feed for you saying that? No.
I'm sure they did. Fuck both of them. Okay? But if they want to stand in a goddamn field with me and
don't say it again. Don't say it again.
We'll put boxing gloves on and I will beat both of those men to death. Okay? Fuck both of them. Okay? I hate them both.
God. We just got taken off the air forever. Trump is coming at us. Trump's face is now over the American Idiots podcast.
I've been on a goddamn list for goddamn 20 years. Fuck yourself, okay? Anyway. Yeah.
Our watchers are now seeing a "Make America Great Again" screen. But we talk about, once again, the president not acting presidential. Here's another one I'm going to give you, and I have a theory on this. So Trump backtracked today on him throwing out the first pitch for the New York Yankees, and I think it was the Philadelphia Phillies. He said he was going to throw the first pitch for them. This never came about until Fauci threw the first pitch for the Washington Nationals this past week. Right. It never came about. And then the next day, all of a sudden, Trump says, "Oh, by the way, I'm throwing the first pitch." Once again, not presidential. You're being petty, bro. You're being petty. Yeah. That's just my thought on it, is why, whether it was planned or what have you. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the New York Yankees went, "No, you're fucking not. You're not coming to fucking throw a first pitch for us. Go fuck yourself." But, that, again, we've got a kid, and literally I call him a kid because that's what he acts like, who plays games like this with a guy who literally works for him, for crying out loud. I believe Fauci works for him. I think they're in the same chain of command.
Yeah.
And he's playing these games with an employee. Like, come on now. Sean, do you agree? I mean, the timeline matches up to me.
Dude, Trump's a fucking coward. He's always been a coward. He's always been a piece of shit. It's just like I said 10 minutes ago. He has bone spurs. He doesn't want to go to Vietnam. He doesn't want to do anything. He has been on Howard Stern talking about how he wants to fuck his own daughter because he's a sick fuck.
Tolly, you reacted like you didn't know that. Did you not know that?
It makes me uncomfortable every time I
Yeah.
Like that time
he went on Howard.
when he said what
Yeah.
when they asked him, what do you have most in common with with your daughter? And he said, well, I'd say sex, except blah blah blah
Right.
something. And I was like, oh my fucking God, that's disgusting.
Right. Donald Trump is a sick fuck.
I never want to talk about Arkansas. I never want to hear about Arkansas and the shit that supposedly goes on here again after Trump.
I mean, most people know here in Arkansas, people fuck their sisters because they're fucking bored. I get that, but Donald Trump wanted to fuck his own daughter. Okay,
That's a new level of creepy. Oh,
so creepy.
Yeah.
That
And
literally makes my stomach.
Like there was no discomfort on hers, like nothing. And I was like, oh my
Dude,
God.
nothing makes him uncomfortable because when you're that rich, honestly, you just don't give a fuck. That's what I've gotten.
Rich, everything
Have
is
you
it costs
watched-
this much
no,
for
no.
me to get away with it. Hey!
hold on.
No.
Have you watched any documentaries about Donald Trump from the people's point of view from New York that are old money versus him? Okay.
No, but I feel like that'd be hilarious.
This is what they say about him. He is crude, he is rude, he is stupid, he is new money. There's nothing about him that they like. They fucking hate his goddamn guts. He's a fucking pedophile. There's nothing about him at all that's redeemable. This guy should be fucking put to death as far as old money goes. Okay? That's what they have said on documentaries about Donald Trump.
The man's own cousin said he has dementia.
Yes. Time and time again, people hate this motherfucker. But the only people that want him to be president are the white, right-wing, fundamentalist Christians that think Jesus is coming any minute now.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. Once again, I hate that you even use the... I hate the fact that I mean, we talked and I said that I have a glimmer of hope after he gets out of office that my Republican Party will get back to normal. But Sean, kind of broke the news and broke my heart a little bit when he said, Michael, it's never going back to what it was before. This is what it is now.
You have to realize it's changed. We've seen political shifts happen throughout history, and we're living in one right now for the Republican Party. We can only hope that great shifts will happen for the Democratic Party that could actually unite them. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we really need to work on obliterating this bipartisan system.
Even though it's expected, I feel like if he does win come November and we're on air, I feel like there's going to be a lot of long faces for us that night. There's going to be a lot of drunkenness that night, I can guarantee you, because me and Sean have already been planning this. Yeah. I think we should take a shot every time Trump wins the state.
I will be very drunk.
No.
I will be so drunk that dude, like no one see me that drunk since I lived in Hawaii. That's how drunk I'll be. If people in Hawaii that serve with me, they'll know. They'll be like, God damn, that motherfucker's drunk.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take the time before we get off of here for the night to do what Dan Whitfield couldn't. And I guess we can kind of call this a throwback, as it's no question who the American Idiot of the Week is. Tom fucking Cotton, you motherfucking cocksucker.
Yes.
You literally said that that the fucking founding fathers thought that slavery was a necessary evil that this country was built upon. Necessary. Can we just skip the election and put Dan in by force? Can we just make that happen?
No, we have to dig in like the Europeans did during World War I. Okay, we have to dig in the trenches. And we actually have to fight. We have to.
I agree.
We have to fucking goddamn fight. People like Tom Cotton think that they are going to win no matter what because Arkansas is just going to support him no matter what.
He doesn't even have a campaign website, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it from Dan himself. The money that he is being given by you Arkansans that are watching this right now is going out of state.
Yes.
Money that is going to his re-election campaign is now
Donald
going
Trump.
out of state
Yes.
to elect Donald Trump and other Republicans.
Yes.
Money that is supposed to go to this state is being misappropriated by a state senator.
Yes, but people don't give a shit because that's what they want. They want Donald Trump to be the president. They want Tom Cotton to be the fucking representative. They want white supremacy to take over. I mean, dude, have you ever seen fucking The Running Man? That movie? Have you seen that shit?
I don't believe I have.
Okay, so you need to go watch that shit. And that's what they talk about. This was fucking made 20 goddamn years ago. And they talked about how fucking people would, from a white supremacist fucking point of view, would run the goddamn country.
Well, I mean, we've all talked about how we've all three talked about how we're living idiocracy right now, which literally, I mean, it's not far away, ladies and gentlemen. We already have the president in power. Now we just need to, I forget what the name of that fucking drink was, but now that's all we need to fucking have is that fucking drink, and it fucking makes plants grow. And all that shit. Oh my goodness. But
Let's need electrolytes.
real quick, Tolly, I'll go to you first. Thoughts on Cotton's. I literally texted you guys when I saw this, and I said he's imploding, and Sean doesn't agree, so we'll let Sean go here in a moment. But Tolly, what's your thoughts here?
Honestly, I'm not surprised by any of the hateful, bigoted shit that comes from Cotton anymore. I just don't have words.
But it was blatant. Like, 5 years ago, and you say this shit, there's no fucking way you're a pariah.
He also called for no quarter for his constituents in the state of Arkansas while riots were happening, not here. So,
Very true.
He has no integrity. He lacks moral fiber. He's a white supremacist that's looking to maintain the status quo. That's clearly obvious.
Yes.
Goes like he said it. He made it blatant. Thank you for helping me support my claims, Tom Cotton. Now I don't have to dig for evidence that people will still ignore.
Right.
Sean?
Okay. So, as everyone knows, I drink. I drink a lot of beer and a lot of malt liquor while we do the fucking show.
I think Tom's been drinking a lot of beer and malt liquor recently with some of these statements.
Well, I do. So I'm honest about the shit. Okay? So I'm a fucking drunk when we do the goddamn show. I don't give a shit. I drink a lot of fucking beer and a malt liquor, but I'm able to keep that fucking mind going to actually fucking know that what Tom Cotton fucking represents in this goddamn country is wrong. Okay? He's a goddamn United States citizen. He's a fucking U.S. senator. And no matter what, if he got defeated tomorrow, he still gets a goddamn retirement for the rest of his life. That's how Congress works. You can win
on top of his military retirement, I believe.
Yes. You can win a seat in Congress and be defeated the next election cycle, and you still get your retirement for the rest of your life, which is like $100,000 a year. Okay? Doesn't matter if you only work for 2 years or 4 years. You still get that goddamn retirement for the rest of your goddamn life.
I can almost guarantee you too that he won't be coming back to Arkansas whenever he retires.
No. He's gonna win. He's gonna win. He's gonna win the re-election. He's gonna be our goddamn representative. He's going to run for governor, and he's gonna win that, and he's gonna go for president.
Really? You think you're making a call that he's going to run for governor here and win Asa? Are you talking about win Asa in 2 years?
He will run for governor and he will run for president. Okay? Because, dude, seriously, Arkansas's never fucking ran or actually elected a woman to be the governor, Tom Cotton will see that shit. He'll be like, dude, I've got this shit. Boom. He's the governor. Right? You see
That's
it?
scary.
You see it, though?
Yeah.
A
I mean,
woman
we
has
talked about
never
this
been
last
governor of
night.
this state.
We talked
Tom
about this
Cotton
last night,
for
Tolly.
Arkansas. And then
We
he's going to see his window of opportunity to become president because Bill Clinton did. Right?
He's no Bill Clinton.
He's not a Bill Clinton, but he's going to run and he's going to lose.
I hope so.
No, he will because he's too extreme. He's
We're
too
still living.
right wing.
Hold
He's
on,
not.
though. You
He's
say
not right
that, but
wing
he's
enough.
Trump.
No, he's not right wing enough to lose the fucking governorship, but he's too right wing to be the president.
Wouldn't we say the same about Trump, though, is my point.
No,
So Trump's not right wing enough to lose the presidency?
no, he's
When
going to win
we,
again. Biden can't win.
you know, we talked about this last night, Tolly, and when you look at the math, this is the last thing we'll talk about is who has the most narrow, and think about this, and this is a very sobering thought. We'll go with you first, Tolly. Who has the most narrow path to win 270 electoral votes? If you look at the math, obviously Biden should win huge because Trump's narrow margin. But you've got to take one of those states away from Trump, and Texas maybe. Florida looks difficult. Sean says Ohio, there's no way.
There have been, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this right now. There have been too many people that have come out against Trump, and that has just emboldened the white race against anybody else. Trump wins the next election.
Tolly, it's a sobering thought to think about it when it's put in those terms, but it's the reality we're living in. You know, Trump only has to win a few states and he wins the presidency. Biden can win more states. Biden can do everything that Hillary did, but he still has to pick off at least one state.
Biden's not a leader.
You don't even think he matches Hillary.
He already lost 2 elections. 2.
So you're saying it's going to be worse than Hillary?
Yes. Trump wins again.
I really
Tolly?
think finding out that Biden was the Democratic candidate, I have had immense doubt that he's going to stand a chance at all, because I just feel like he divides that side of our country too much, whereas Trump unites his extreme right wing, written that the status quo is changing, working class American who thinks they're
And let's be honest,
working class American rather than the rich men that keep us all down.
Let's be honest, every single one of his base is going to be voting. That's another thing that Biden has to overcome. I'm sorry, continue, Tully.
Well, no, you're right. I agree with you. Trump has the benefit that his following is more like a cult.
We call it Colt 45.
Colt 45. So people are going to show up to vote. Anyone that is feeling threatened right now is going to be emboldened and want to exercise their voice because they're white American. They've always had the voice. So to them, stepping into that booth is, oh yeah, this is going to happen. They've got that. Whereas when you're looking at being a minority and going to vote, there are always actively obstacles in your way when you're trying to get into that voting booth. I've never had an easy time going to vote, ever. And I can't imagine living in places like Alabama, where that's just going to be impossible for their constituents. Mississippi. Yeah, Trump has the benefit of being the president in a white country for white people who will show up to vote, and he won't be harassed at the voting booths for trying to come and do their due diligence of voting.
And obviously I'm a white American, so, obviously he said things that'll be more offensive to certain individuals. It's a perception thing. But one thing that I can say was one of the most offensive things that I've ever heard him say is the fact that he is a wartime president because of this COVID situation. He literally said that he was a wartime president. Yeah, I mean, it's been amongst him saying, he's declaring war on COVID and all that other shit. And I'm not sure if Sean's drunkenly passed out there in the middle of us. Oh, hey, looky there. Sean's here. Hey, Sean. But, I mean, real quick, guys, I know I'm dragging this along real quick, but Trump, a wartime president. Sean, you're my fellow vet here. Go ahead and tear that one apart.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to say.
Hey guys, this is what I'm gonna say.
Okay, so I've had like 12 beers tonight. I'm really drunk. I always drink when we do these shows, but I am mentally smart enough to actually say something that will affect this show. So, fuck Trump. That's first. I think that the guy that we had on the show tonight actually has some good ideas.
Absolutely.
I think that Dan could run against Tom Cotton and actually do some good things. Does he have a chance to win? I don't know.
Narrow.
I honestly think that the system is working against him enough that I hiccup. I think the system works enough against him that he's not gonna win.
Right.
Does anyone else have a chance to defeat Trump in the next election? Joe Biden is a goddamn loser. He's not gonna win.
Hold up. Are you saying that Trump's gonna try to get a third term?
Trump's gonna win the next term. Biden's going to be defeated. He hasn't picked a fucking running mate.
And we're, 30 months away? I think we figured it up roughly.
He should have already picked a running mate. He should have already emboldened his base, and he didn't do it. Trump's going to win. We got 4 more years of Trump, and this shit fucking sucks. It's the reality of what we face.
Yeah.
I'm calling it as I see it. I might be wrong, but I think Trump's going to win. I hate that. I don't want that to happen, but I think Trump's going to win because people are just too goddamn scared to be goddamn fucking people to support each other and to make the things that we need to do. Everyone in this fucking country is a goddamn coward, as far as I'm concerned. Everyone. If they weren't, we wouldn't have Trump as the goddamn president.
Tolly, final thoughts before we hop off of here? Maybe a little less drunken final thoughts?
Right?
I didn't drink anything because I've been having gout, but ending on this really solemn note, and thinking about 4 more years of Trump, I'm definitely about to go take a shot of Jameson.
I hope you're right. I need
a shot of Jameson so that way I can sleep and hopefully not have nightmares.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Tolly may not start the night drinking in November, but by the end of the night, we may have Tolly drinking more heavily than we are, Sean.
That's okay. I'll have alternatives.
There you go. There you go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've been the American Idiots. We hope you enjoyed our talk with Mr. Dan Whitfield. Hopefully he will get ballot access. That is pretty damn badass that judge wrote his appeal for him, basically.
Right?
That is.
That's fucking amazing. But I will say, once again, I hope that we get ballot access, and I hope that I will be able to be proud enough to say that I voted for Dan, win, lose, or draw.
We'll see.
We will see. Ladies and gentlemen, for Sean Castleberry, Tropic Thunder, Tolly Brim, and myself, Mr. Michael Carnahan, we will see you next Monday night on the American Idiot Show. Good night, excuse me, myself and Sean will see you Sunday on the debut of the 24/7 show. So
That's true.
So until then, ladies and gentlemen, good night, everybody.